Hey everybody, welcome back to NeverGameAlone, and today what we're going to be doing is sort of a wrap-up video for Outlast 2, kind of last thoughts and opinions, what was good, what was bad, what they did right, and we just want to kind of share what we took from the game, playing it all the way through, and comparing it to the first game.
I think every game we do a full playthrough, we might just do like an overview, thoughts.
Like a thoughts outro.
But so in comparison to Outlast 1 to Outlast 2, like probably which one was better, which one was worse, and overall I'd say they even out in different ways.
Yeah, also before we get into this, maybe possible spoiler alert, we might talk about things that happen in the game, so if you haven't played the game yet and you don't want to know what happens, go watch the other videos first.
Yeah, maybe you should watch our entire playthrough first.
But yeah, like Jack said, I think the games themselves evened out in quality, but in, like he said, very different ways. There were a lot of things that the game did a lot better than the first game. There were a lot of things that were pretty average about it, but there were also some things that I really liked better about the first game. So let's go through the list.
So the first thing I would want to say about Outlast 2 is that it looked amazing.
Yeah, that was probably one of the most beautiful games I've ever watched. It was just really, really pretty. And it was just like, all the details were so fine about everything. And for the first episode and a half, you can just hear me talk about how every time we go into a new location, just how good everything looks. I thought that was so cool that they did it like that.
Yeah, in comparison to the first one, like the first one it's not that the first one looked bad, but
it looked like it was made for the Xbox 360 several years ago.
But you could play it on the Xbox One though. We played it on the Xbox One. But it looked grainy, but the look of the game felt right. Like it didn't feel off.
Yeah.
But this game just looked so much better, which just added to the fact that there was just so much detail in all of like the gore, like all of the disgusting things that you see.
Yeah.
Also, I would say that Outlast 2 had a much better story. I wasn't a big fan of the story in Outlast 1. Yeah, Outlast 1 was a great game, but like the story was pretty weak.
For me personally, it wasn't even that the story was weak, it was mostly that the ending for Outlast 1 really sucked.
But like, think about how Outlast 1 started. Outlast 1 starts with a guy going up to an asylum and saying, "Hey, I want to investigate this," and then walks inside. That's it. That's the whole story.
Not incredibly realistic. Whereas with Outlast 2, it's like you're kind of thrown into the shitstorm situation. You don't walk into it. Your helicopter crashes and you're kind of forced to escape. But then you gotta find your wife.
Yeah, like your character has motives.
It makes way more sense.
Yeah, it makes a little bit more sense.
The story of the first one was just a little bit scattered, realistically. It was a bit scattered.
And then, yes, the ending of the first Outlast was very,
disappointing.
A little disappointing.
Not a little disappointing, I was pissed.
Yeah, I said in the series of Outlast 2 at some point, I just thought it was a cop-out, pretty much.
It was a cop-out.
Because, like, I understand, like, how else are you gonna end something like this without him dying? I guess he can escape, but, like, I don't know. I felt like they just didn't do a good enough job with the ending.
Yeah.
Just a personal opinion.
And
I've heard a lot of people say that same thing though.
Well, with the Outlast 2 ending, it was incredibly to do with the story. Like, it was completely based on the entire game before that.
Yeah.
Like, it was a build up to this big ending. And spoiler alert, like I said, it was fucking awesome. The sun just explodes.
Yeah.
Wow.
The world ends.
The world
ends. Then, like,
not only do you die, the world ends.
Yeah, and the entire story with Jessica is revealed about the whole priest thing, which we're not completely sure whether it was a rape thing or whether it was just like he beat her or something.
I don't know.
We're inconclusive about that, but that was revealed, and it just. Questions were answered in the second one, whereas in the first one, questions were not answered.
Well, it's not even that questions were not answered in the first one. It was just that there was no questions.
That's also true.
Because the first one was just like, yeah, you're in an asylum, investigate. But the second one was just very, very story rich. Like, there was just so much story to the point where most of the time, probably because I wasn't paying very close attention, I really didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, we didn't really pay much attention at all because we
didn't read many of the notes. But I knew that there was a way, way more in-depth story, and I knew it wrapped up very well.
And for what we figured out, I mean, it was really intense, and it was really, like, I felt that I was connected to the story. Like, I cared about what was happening.
You cared, whereas in the first one, you're just like, survive.
Oh, I died. Oh, who's this guy in the wheelchair? Yeah, it's like they just throw that in at the end of the first game, and I don't know. Wasn't for me. Wasn't for me.
So those were the good things about the game. As far as neutral things go, I can explain this in a way where the game wasn't as scary as the first one.
Oh, not even
Not
close.
even close. There were moments that were scarier than anything that had happened in the first one, but as a whole, the game was just not as scary.
I feel like Outlast 1, the entire game was just muscle.
You were just full clench.
Yeah, like I was just like holding the controller with an extreme amount of grip.
But I can explain that.
Yeah.
Because Outlast 2 was a very open game. There was a lot of openness to it. You never felt trapped. And really, the only terrifying moments in Outlast 2 was when you were in the flashbacks in the school. Because as you're walking down the hallway and you know you have to turn a corner, you're like, well, fuck me, what's around this corner?
Yeah.
But when you're in an open cornfield and every enemy has a flashlight, you're really not nervous. You're just focused on not dying.
Also, like a lot of the enemies were just people.
Yeah.
And then in the first game, every enemy just looked terrifying.
Yeah. But it was just like, it was jump scares that worked in the first game because the area that you were in was just built for jump scares, and like that's why it was terrifying. Because at no point did I feel safe in Outlast 1, whereas in Outlast 2 there were so many moments where I felt safe.
Exactly. There was like, okay, all right, we can chill. I can just like ease the tension. But in the first game, it was all tension.
Was just. But what makes this not bad and what makes this kind of neutral is that because the game did look a lot better, the game was also way more gory than the first one. Like, it was just brutal. Your peripherals had at least 3 dead bodies in your view at all times.
Yeah.
Like, it was really messed up, like the things you could see.
Yeah,
there were crucified people, there were naked people on spikes.
You were crucified.
You get crucified.
You get buried alive.
Like, I thought in the first game when the dude snipped your fingers off that was tough.
Yeah, that was...
I thought that was messed up. But when you got nailed on the cross, I was like, wow.
Also, I'd say a neutral thing about this game, since, I mean, there's good and bad things about this, is while they did introduce new game mechanics, like fighting off enemies barely, and like,
crawling and vaulting and
crawling.
plank walking.
Crawl before.
Well, I know, but like crawling under things and vaulting and walking on the planks.
Like, you could do that before.
And
like,
pushing and pulling things.
Like, sure, the raft was cool for, like, the first minute.
Yeah.
But then the raft lasted 10 minutes.
Yeah, the problem with the game mechanics is they just kept on making you use the game mechanics, because you couldn't walk through a forest path without crawling under 2 things, vaulting over 1 thing, and doing a balance beam walk at least 1 time. And it was like, sure, it was cool, it was in the game, but it really started to feel forced.
And like, it did it for no reason.
Yeah.
Because if something was chasing you and you had to do this, sure, that's fine. It's scary. You're just like, oh, I have to make sure I'm doing everything correctly or I'm going to die.
And those were some of the parts where the mechanics were great. Like, I remember crawling under floorboards and somebody just crawling behind us. Like, that was scary.
Yeah.
That was one of the scarier moments.
But, like, sometimes they just did it to do it.
Sometimes just in the middle of the woods, you just had to crawl.
Yeah.
It was like, why? Why are you making me do this? I don't understand. Is it to make the game longer?
And with these introduced game mechanics, and like, for example, how I said the raft before, it just made the game a lot slower, I feel like.
Yeah, this game was definitely not as fast-paced as the first one. Part of that being the fact that I probably felt safe more often, but part of that was just like, the raft is the perfect example. It was like, yeah, it was cool for a minute, but once we got across the lake, all of a sudden now we're on a river, and you couldn't get out of your raft.
Yeah.
And then you had to go and get your raft. It was really dumb. I don't know. I thought it was really dumb.
But like, I don't know. Like, that's all we have to say about it. Like, the rest we say, you can watch the entire playthrough.
Yeah,
like,
that's really just a wrap up of the things we've been saying for the entire episodes.
But in all, I liked both games quite a bit.
Yeah.
And as you just heard, they both had good and bad things.
Yeah.
But if you haven't played it yourself, like, I would definitely recommend playing both of the games.
Yeah, even if you've watched somebody play it, it does not pay...
Oh my god,
it does not pay the fear that playing it is. It's so much different when you're holding a controller.
Yes,
because all of a sudden, you have the responsibility of being afraid, and it's completely different. So yeah, if you haven't played either of these games, I highly recommend that you pick them up. I'm sure you can find Outlast 1 for like $3 somewhere.
Definitely not.
Well, like a store, like one of those...
Maybe.
I'm sure you can get
not.
Outlast 1 cheap, and Outlast 2 is only $30 as a brand new game. That's not bad. You can wait for it to go on sale too. Definitely highly recommend these games if you're into stuff like that, which we've never really been into. These are some of the first horror game campaigns that we've played, and I've really enjoyed both of them.
We will do more videos like this when we play full playthroughs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to have a little wrap up at the end, but hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you in the next video. Peace out.
Peace out.